All right, so this is one of the latest typing sessions there with Jack and the World Socionics Society. He was doing a session here for Goblin from New Zealand, which is awesome. We don't get people from New Zealand often for obvious reasons. So this was a pretty cool one. I thought it was a good one to kind of talk about just because one, it's recent. Two, it was something that people were kind of all over the place during the live chat. Um, which is kind of a little weird that people were kind of all over the place quite so soon. So it's probably one that maybe there's some interesting lessons to be learned here. So let's kind of check it out. Let's see how this goes.
Hi, everyone. Today I am interviewing Goblin, who happens to be my first Kiwi. So I didn't know you could find many goblins in New Zealand, but here we are.
You can find many hobbits.
Yeah, goblins everywhere.
There's lots of hobbits around here, but
Yeah.
maybe not goblins.
Definitely heard of the hobbits. But how's it going? It's new.
I'm all right, bro. I've just nothing too much happening in my life. Like just working a new job, well, at least for like a month. So that's something, I suppose. But there's nothing. My life ain't too exciting. You understand? That's why I gotta talk.
All right, let me pause it here for a second. So the thing I thought was pretty apparent within the first 5 minutes, maybe even sooner, you notice the explosion of NE in this individual. I think it's about as obvious an NE as you could hope to imagine. So it makes for a good learning point on figuring out what is NE with this particular guy. So right off the bat, you should see the NE and you should already be zeroing in on that going, there's only two possible NE types. Now I just got to figure out which one.
People online like you.
Why is your life not exciting?
Oh, because I'm a lazy bastard. like so like I'm 22, right? And
Nice
I've only
use
got
of
a
feeling.
learner's license, for example, because I'm lucky enough to have know a lot of people who could drop me off places, but that means my autonomy is kind of a bit fucked. So I've got to spend a lot of time like reading, looking into things. So my hobbies tend to like align around like what I can relax with. I love vibing.
You love vibing.
Hell yeah, my bro. Just chilling out. Like, is there anything better than having like the boys around for a beer or something and just talking shit with some good tunes?
Makes sense. Makes sense. So what hobbies do you like? What are some of these hobbies which are good for vibing?
Fuck. I guess my main thing is like music. I'm a big music guy. I listen to a lot of stuff. I had like a little phase where, I still want to do it, but like I wanted to do like a channel where I'd react to music and stuff with the mate. That's still kind of slightly in the works. He wants to do his own version of it. So depending on how it goes, I love to do band stuff. I make my own music. I listen to a lot of music. Aside from that, is like typology and all that. I like fashion. I like, there's just a lot of things, Does alcohol count as a hobby? That's pretty cool.
I guess it does. It is certainly perhaps the society's oldest hobby, you could say. Yeah.
So something interesting you could kind of see already. I know it's early, you could argue, but actually no, it's not. Look, you could already see it in the type chat. In fact, if I give it another second, I know that I put in my guess already.
So I guess let's ask you, what kinds of music do you like and why?
Oh, dog. I listen to like
How
I
do you
listen
fake
to
winning?
everything, but like everybody says I listen to everything. So like that's kind of cheating. My main bag is like experimental hip hop and all that stuff. I love that.
Yeah, all right, there you go. So we're what, 2.5 minutes in? You already heard Goblin going through all kinds of different things that he's interested in, all sorts of things that he does. He's got good energy, good presence, good vibe. He is connecting well with Jack. In fact, you even noticed Jack laughing and smiling a few times throughout it. And in fact, I feel like Jack gives himself away. Whenever you see him like laughing and smiling this much, in many cases, it's another extroverted, intuitive type. Not always. He does it a few times with some other NI types too. Take, for instance, Michael Pierce. But he often starts really enjoying himself when he's dealing with another NE type. They start kind of vibing together. So another thing to look out for. It's his tell. Anyway, but you're seeing Goblin talking about a lot of different things that he's into already. He's bouncing back and forth between them. And you can kind of already get the sense that he's got a lot of other things he would mention. He just didn't think of it at the exact moment, but he's got more and more in there. As I said, he's good feeling tones going on. He's getting along well. He's very likable, presentable, makes Jack laugh. So kind of some good feeling vibes going on. It might be a little tricky to differentiate between FI and FE at this moment, but some good feeling vibes. And as I said in the live chat, you can already see a few of us jumping in on there. Whoever random name 2298 is over here was already pegging him 4D NE. So he saw it too. And I was jumping in there with an IEE. Saw it too. Now, I got ahead of myself a little bit and jumped in there thinking, yeah, I'm getting more of that feeling. Just heuristically, this feels a little bit more like a ENFP to me. Where it really kind of shows itself is throughout the rest of the entire interaction, they really start getting into a lot of discussion on philosophy, different philosophers, different books, and Jack is able to kind of like suss out that one of the things Goblin is very interested in is consistency of thought. He's paying attention to the writers and MBTI. In fact, I think he talks about it here in a few minutes, but he starts going on about problems with MBTI or some of these other systems, that they're inconsistent. And he even specifically mentions that because they're so inconsistent, if you have enough creativity, you can come up with a good narrative to type somebody anything. To me, that's another good indicator of being an NE. But the consistency of these things, the constant talking about philosophy, about other writers, he keeps on and on about this throughout the entire thing. And that consistency of all that stuff he's talking about is what finally brings you towards being more of a Alpha Quadra ILE instead of being the IEE, which I thought he might have been. And about 2.5 minutes in, I was kind of guessing that. So anyway, let's continue a few more minutes.
Just mostly because that's where the genre, not genre, but like the most interesting stuff happening in music right now is kind of in that space. Yeah. So I find it really interesting to follow, to like see, at least when you get like a new guy on the scene, it's like, you can really like recognize it. Like, for example, I know some people know what I'm talking about here. There was an album called Hollow to Red that dropped in 2020 or something. And like, just from then on, there's already a bunch of people like copying the sound off of it. And it's like, so interesting.
So here's another thing that is happening a lot early on is that he's talking about a lot of things he's interested in. He starts off discussing music and hanging out with friends and stuff like that. And it, to me, it came across a little bit more IEE early. But as I said, as the thing continues, you start to see, boy, there's this long conversation about consistency, about philosophy, different books, different things that he's read through thoroughly, showing a lot of TI and TE going on in there. So it's deep into the interview that you kind of really notice that.
I have to finish it, so that was really good. Mostly it.
There you go. Look, Fate Wind also jump in there again. Agreed about any valued. So again, you see that there wasn't many of us on at the start of it, but for those that were, you see the everybody kind of zeroing in on NE. It was a very, very obvious display of it.
You have room for like being reasonable, etc., and then you can also have the monkey brain that like just attaches to things, the emotional part.
Yeah.
And when I'm trying to be reasonable, right, I'll like listen to a large amount of stuff that I know I won't like. For example, like I'm not a big Drake fan, but I've heard a decent amount of Drake. Still don't like him. But or like if something's known for being horrendous, I'm like, I have to hear this. I have to give it at least a fair shot. You know, I have to give props on what it's doing. But then also, you know, I just, you know, sometimes you just want them content picks. You know, sometimes you just find a track. It might be really stupid. It might be a really dumb song, but like if it makes you go, yeah, I love this. And
See, again, a lot of display of what he likes, what he doesn't like,
sometimes
and
it's
talking music. So early,
So
you know, kind of leaning a little more towards, oh, here we go, the typology thing.
oh man.
Very important
It
here.
would have been it's so sad. It's such a tragedy. There's 16 personality.
oh
Look at that FE display.
I know. But it was when I was like 19, 18-ish. Yeah.
Jack's enjoying himself.
And the real hook and sinker that got me into it, because I showed my friends the test, and you know, everybody got INFP, INFJ, of course, because that website is horrible. But the thing that got me into it was actually Jay Powers, objective personality. Like videos on the subjects. It was fascinating, and I was like, this is really well explained and presented. It's easily accessible. You know, bite size. I thought it was like at a functional level. It was just so good.
Very
Too
true.
bad the system's a bit convoluted. It's not convoluted. It's just a bit complicated. It works in its own little space. But like, so I'm moving more into socionics now. You know, like. Because like I know Myers-Briggs and Enneagram and all that, but like they're just so movable, bro. Like fuck. You can make anybody any type with Myers-Briggs. I swear to God. Like it's just like you just focus on one tiny little thing, you make a whole narrative out of it, and it's and it kills the system. Enneagrams.
Yep. So again, this is just a snapshot that I'm pointing out. I don't want this video to be too long. I just want to maybe like let's talk about it, make it maybe for some people make this clear, make them learn something. It's only 6 minutes into this thing, and look how much NE is flying out of him. Again, to me, you're seeing the logical understanding, the strong TI, a bit of TE going on in there, being very familiar with multiple systems, going through them, realizing the inconsistencies, knowing how to manipulate those inconsistencies in order to creatively come up with some bullshit narrative as to why anybody could be anything. Very true. And something that probably somebody with TI and T is going to notice. And when you couple that with NE, they're going to have that creative ability to quickly just say, I can easily come up with some narrative, some story, some reasoning using your bullshit to justify as to why you're an amoeba. And you know, and make that work. Right. You can already see a lot of ILE. Early on here, again, 6.5 minutes. He does talk a lot about what he likes, and the music, so it was a bit confusing. But as I said, if you were watching the interview, and if you haven't and you want to, by all means, go check it out. World Socionics Society Goblin interview. You will listen to this long interview turn into a lot of discussion on philosophy, different books, what they mean, what the writers were saying, the consistencies, inconsistencies, blah, 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 blah. And towards the end, Jack directly asks him about how he feels about those inconsistencies and so on, and how important it is that somebody's consistent. So it's really over the course of the whole interview that you're hearing that constant talk about those very intellectual kind of things and being very familiar with it, that makes you now go, okay, this has got to be an ILE, or at least more likely an ILE than he is an IE. And he does bring up that he has some relationships, some friends. He brings up a close friend that he has, and so on. So he doesn't demonstrate like a total absence of FI, but it's just underspoken throughout the whole interview. It just doesn't really pop up much, just a little bits, and kind of pops up mostly when Jack brings it up. Jack specifically asks a question to make him answer that kind of thing. But otherwise, if Jack doesn't ask those kind of questions, this thing just kind of is an hour-long discussion on different philosophies and different systems and so forth. And of course, he demonstrates pretty much a total lack of interest in SI, more sensory things, and just more pragmatic, down to earth, getting things done kind of stuff. He talks about the jobs that he doesn't really do, the not really having any interest in it, just working silly little jobs to just kind of get by. He would rather just think about stuff all day and talk to people all day. So I mean, super NT type of stuff right there. And low SI. So just a lot more evidence. I think that about covers it without making this video get too long. So I hope for some people who were kind of struggling or wondering what's going on during the live stream, this helps. Hopefully it does. So as always, leave some comments. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you disagreed or if you saw something else during the interview, whatever. Right?